Okay, so let's get working on our first week's module. This is materials from our source book, which is Introduction to Information Systems. It's going to follow chapters 1 and 2. Let me go ahead and switch over to my screen here. Okay, so this is what we're working off of for this week. We've got actually two things to look here. Always check these tabs, by the way, under learning materials. This video is going to go over chapter 1. We have a PowerPoint so we can I'll kind of walk you guys through. This is meant to be a supplement to the reading. It is not going to be this is what it is. Again, this is a supplement, and then I'll do a second video on the technology guide, which is something I kind of do. So there you go. Get this out of my way here. Oops. Okay, let's get going. Okay, so we're going to switch over to our PowerPoint here in a second. Let me get this going. Okay, let's get that. Okay, and we're going to turn off that and turn, that on. There we go. Okay, and get this out of the way. Okay, here we go. So, introduction to information systems, and let's get rolling here. Okay, so we're going to identify the reasons why being an informed user of information systems is important. How systems work. Discuss the way information IT can affect managers and non-managers in a business environment, and then identify positive, negative societal effects. Okay, why should you study information systems? It really is what has been driving change in our society and in business for the last really 30 years. As technology has advanced, we have actually changed the way we do things in society. We've changed the way we do things in business. We change just about every facet of society has changed. And this is a normal progression. It's just that we've been doing something, it's been speeding up. We've been having more and more innovation at deeper and deeper levels than we ever had before. It used to be, we can always rely on these old tried and true things that won't change, and information systems have actually dug into there as well. I used to dig ditches. I used to pick fruit, and now we have machines and robots that are doing that for us. So it really has gotten into just about every field. And it impacts not just the bottom level of the base level of work, but affects everything above that as well. So it is something that has changed just about everything. There aren't many jobs that you'll run across where you don't have an impact from information and technology. So the New York Times, perfect example. We have the traditional media that has been changed by IT, by information, by the internet, by technology, hugely on a regular basis. And those that haven't changed have crashed. Those who haven't changed have not succeeded. So it is something that you need to be kind of aware of and how it affects things. Being an informed user, even if it's not something that you're going to pursue, knowing how technology works, knowing how it impacts things, can factor into you making choices. So keep that in mind. It's not, I hate to say it, it's not just for geeks anymore. It impacts everything. If you want to be a social media influencer, guess what? You got to know how that works, or at least be able to evaluate hiring someone who does. A bad social media manager will kill you. Not literally, but figuratively. Your career can really take a dive if someone isn't on the latest trend, isn't on the latest innovations. career opportunities in technology. And this, when we talk about this, we're not just talking about the guys who are doing the programming or building the computers or troubleshooting them or the guys tapping on keys. There are a lot of extra things that have to be considered. And something that's important, particularly for those from the Central Valley, our voices haven't really been represented very well in technology. People from small towns, people from rural communities, people who might be from a what we refer to as an underserved or minority groups, their voices have not really been heard very well. Female groups have not been heard very well in technology circles. So your voice matters. As far as opportunities are concerned, think of it this way. The latest figures we have for this, I believe, were from 2018, 2019. And in those years, just the state of California alone had $65,000 IT-related jobs a month that were being listed and going unfilled. 65,000 job opportunities a month for people with IT skills. The university system, which is the traditional place where you would find some of those skills in computer engineering or programming, were graduating 6,500 graduates with computer science related degrees a year. And that's combined UCs and the state system. So there wasn't a lot of people that were coming in with college degrees who were able to fill those positions. Now, if you had a college degree, pretty much locked in, you were going to get a position. Now, those numbers are a little bit skewed because what happened in IT, because we had so few people going through the college system, that a lot of the recruiters are actually just pulling people out of college. They'll approach people at a job fair that are juniors on their way to get their degree and say, hey, you want to dump the degree and come work for me for X amount of dollars? And they would, what we refer to as, they would poach the colleges. A lot of IT is one of those jobs that is largely not concerned about what your pieces of paper are. They're concerned about, can you do the job? Can you demonstrate to me that you know how to do this? So that is one of the things that you can do. And also there are tons of jobs in related careers. Programmers and engineers are notorious for not being really good managers. They don't do people stuff. So they need people who are aware of the higher level issues that courses like this teach, where it's a little more generalized, that can manage people, that have those people skills. So it's not just the guys punching the keys, it's those people who support them as well. And the people who can make the connections of, okay, this is a new technology, I can see where this is going to get implemented, those emerging technologies that I mentioned. I can see how this can connect to that, and how that can be the next new trend, or that can be the next new thing. So it is a really wide career availability. So again, the informed user, being able to provide your input and being able to make those connections, how you can be aware of and see how new technology is going to be able to be used. Programmers, analysts. Again, I was a systems analyst. I was technically what was called a business systems analyst, since I had my master's degree is in business administration. I have a bachelor's degree in IT. So I was able to use my business knowledge and my IT knowledge to see, oh, I can see where this is going to be able to be used. This is going to, or I can see how this technology can streamline your business to make it more efficient. So again, not necessarily that head-on career in IT, but an associated one. And then there's a number of different things. And this slide deck is provided to you, by the way, in our classroom materials. So you'll be able to review this. Job rankings, IT-related fields in the top 100. It was last year, actually, for those of you who are considering a college career, the top paying job out of college with a bachelor's degree had always been electrical engineering. And last year, computer programmer actually took over, and now has the highest expectation of salary coming out of college. And that expectation nationwide, I believe, is like $75,000 a year. So if you were to get a programming degree or a computer engineering degree, you could expect to make, $65,000, $75,000 a year directly out of college. And that's with a bachelor's degree. That's with a 4-year degree. So keep that in mind. These are not just good jobs, they are high-paying jobs, and most of them, because of the pandemic, a lot of them you can do remotely. I was working with a gentleman teaching. He was helping me in one of my classes. He was a software engineer helping me teach one of my classes. His company was based in California, and he moved to Texas. Why? Because he was working in the Bay Area, couldn't afford a house, and he and his wife were making really good money. Couldn't afford a house at all. He was living in an apartment. He was able to buy a 4,000 square foot house on, I think, 2 acres with his salary in Texas. So just picked up and moved. Didn't have to change companies. He's working remotely. There you go. So that's an opportunity that is available. So again, these are lots of careers in these high fields. Managing information resources is complex because there is just tons of information, and being able to manage the information, managing data is very, very important. And we'll get into what the difference is with managing data. We have a difference changing role in information technology, information systems. You'll see IT and IS are not really interchangeable, but they are very, very related. One of the big things that is different between MIT and IS is information services as opposed to information technology. So MIS has to do with what the computers see what the users see on their screen. So what we refer to as interface design, and making something easy to use. And again, software engineers, computer engineers are not the most intuitive when it comes to making things easy for people to use. I could tell you stories that is just really, really dumb. How some things were designed, and where it's like, why don't we do this? The BlackBerry is a perfect example. If you think of one of the first smartphones was a BlackBerry, and you pulled out a little stylus and you had a little tiny keyboard, and then the iPhone came around and they said, well, why don't we just use this pointer instead? So they started using touchscreens and using that. And now the stylus has come back for those who want to do art on the iPhone. But it wasn't a computer engineer that said, let's use our finger. It was someone who was in information systems who actually was looking at the user's interface, how the user interacts with technology. And again, that's a related role. Staffing, training, technical, all these are very, very important. Let me just flip through here. Okay. We have different things we're going to be going over in this chapter. You have what's called the infrastructure, the IT components, the nuts and bolts, the PCs, making sure that's working, and the network is working, and the internet is working, and the security is good, and all of those little pieces of an IT infrastructure that are traditional. But you also have to manage the personnel. You have to manage people. You have to know what they need to get their job done. What they need to be a functioning department. And that is not always based on technical. The person who knows how to do that isn't always the most technologically advanced. So that is a different type of thing. And then you have IT services, which is what these people provide to the people outside of their organization. As we go through here, you're going to learn the difference between these 3 words: data, information, and knowledge. Data is just the ones and zeros, the facts. Okay, it's just information. That's all. That it's just stuff there is to know. Data. If you put the data in context, now you have information. It's not just the data, but it's the data that is there, but again, it's not really usable. I use an example. I used to work for a casino training company where I was training their IT staff and their marketing and IT staff together. And I was at a convention in Las Vegas where I was teaching these people, and it was like, okay, you're at a convention with a whole bunch of other people from the gaming industry, from the casino industry. And if you go home to your hotel room tonight, and you're a good IT staff, your good technology staff will report to you how many additional people hit your website. Okay, this is the day before apps were really all that widespread. So a good technology department would tell you this is how many more people hit our website today than yesterday before the convention. A really good IT staff would tell you these are how many more people hit our site from Vegas. Okay. So now you have a little bit more refined data. It's not just this bulk number of this is how many people from this location hit the site. So that's response to your presentation at this convention. A great IT staff would tell you what hotels they were staying at, because that information, you can determine that information from your website. Because now, not only do we have the data, and we have the data in context, which gives us information, but data in context that is actionable, that is related, you can now do something with it. Okay. Because now I can send my salespeople to that hotel. I can send them to that hotel bar to try and sell things. Okay. It becomes actionable, it becomes knowledge. It's data and information in actionable context. And that's the difference we have between those three concepts. We have a lot of different things. We have procedures and what these different pieces are. Again, I'm going to do these really quickly because these are mostly just there for backup, for your reading. I don't want it to replace your reading. Yeah, everything you'll notice, all of these different functions, this is the base structure. This is what everything's based on. Yes, we need accountants, but accountants are using software and their software has to run. They can't do their job if the software isn't working. Same thing with, human resources. Same thing with just about everything else. Okay. And again, we're going to talk about support for for employees. These are people that are being supported. One of the big things that is coming into its own nowadays is data sciences, being able to take that data that we were talking about and giving it context and making it actionable, making it relevant, and making it so that other people can understand it, which is part of the problem we've been having. Is we have all these we have all this information, we have all these numbers, but it doesn't do any good if it's not in a form or a way that people can understand it. You guys have all seen bad charts, where it's like, okay, that's cool, what does it mean? And that's a new area of IT that is moving forward quickly. So you'll see dashboards a lot. Now, as far as impact, if you think about all the different things that have happened, the book industry, music industry, video, software, video games. These are all things that have had huge amounts of impact as technology has moved forward, particularly computer technology. I can't tell you the difference has happened in my life to the music industry, to the video industry, to all of that. I'm old enough, gray hair proves it. I am old enough to be pre-video VCR, much less streaming. Just the idea, I remember being excited getting the first VCR to come out, so that we could go out and rent a video, and you'll hear us old farts talk about Blockbuster and all the rest of it all the time. Same thing with music. For good or ill, same thing for music, but I won't go there. Marketing, how things are marketed. Social media didn't exist. There was no social media. The recruiting industry, being able to find employees, being able to advertise a job. Financial industries, motion pictures, My older brother is actually a programmer who used to work for Disney. He helped develop Disney's animation software. It's 3D animation software. If you want to double check that, if you want to check and see if I'm truthful, you can find his name, which is Michael Sullivan, in the credits for every movie Disney made, from the original Beauty and the Beast all the way to Nightmare Before Christmas. He actually was part of a group that won an Oscar. So yes, I have held an Oscar. Yeah, and even industries like the fashion industry have been changed by technology. How that works has been changed in mostly in a good way. Education, we're relying more and more on it, and it makes things interesting. We reduce the number of middle managers, so you're able to streamline things, get more people who are doing things and few people who are managing things, and it makes things more efficient. Helping people make decisions by giving them actual information to do, not just gut feeling, because that was a lot of times how decisions were made. This is what my instinct is telling me is good, as opposed to actually looking at what the actual information is. Does IT eliminate job? Yes, it can, but it generally makes more jobs available, more jobs than it got rid of, and generally speaking, they're higher paying. And again, we'll go through all of these things. Technology's had a huge effect on having people who have disabilities being able to work in jobs they weren't able to do before. So with that, I'm going to leave you with this one. This one's already running long. I know, I'm sorry. I tend to talk a lot, but we will work on the next section from there. Please, again, this was meant to be as a supplement to your reading. Make sure you are doing your reading. That is what your responses and your quizzes are based on. But hopefully this helped you out. If it brought you some more questions, please feel free to contact me directly or start up a new discussion in our discussion forums. I love to talk about this kind of thing, so you are welcome to do that. And then we'll move on to the next.